Good afternoon, and thank you everyone for joining ARC's weekly Fireside Chat. This week, we will be talking about stopping the hate of our AAPI community members and the violence of our AAPI community members. And these are our family members, these are our community members, these are our people. And so we want to make sure that everyone knows that we stand in solidarity with our community. And for this, we're going to have a conversation with some of our members to discuss things that we may be able to do both as a community, as an organization, and as individuals. So I want to welcome everybody for joining, and today we're going to hold that space specifically for, or in the wake of the violence that has been transgressed upon the AAPI community across the country. I want to introduce right now 3 incredible, amazing, stupendous human beings that I know and love dearly and have known for some time. You're already getting shouts out, Darlene. And so I want to introduce Billy, Maria, and Darlene, and take a couple of minutes for each of them to introduce themselves. So Billy or Maria, could you introduce yourself? How are you feeling right now? And could you tell us a little bit about your work at API Rise?
Me go first or Maria?
No, Maria.
Well, hi, my name is Maria. I was 48, and the work I do with API Rise, I'm an actual member. So it's like kind of like a support group and reentry program where a lot of us are amongst the Asian Pacific Islander community work together to not only learn to transition, but to identify our own cultures as well as community build. Because originally I'm from the Bay Area, so when I got found suitable as well, I went to, as soon as I got found suitable, ICE picked me up. So when ICE picked me up, I stayed there 6 months. And if it wasn't, and then they, instead of going to the Bay Area, I ended up in Los Angeles. And if it wasn't for API Rise, my transition here in Los Angeles, I don't know how it'd be without API Rise as well as Homeboy Industry.
So Maria, welcome to the show. Thank you so much. Darlene, want to take a minute to introduce yourself, how you feeling today, and tell us a little about the work that you do at Defy.
Hi, everybody. My name is Darlene Luca. I am the program manager at Defy Ventures. I work under the Career and Reentry program, so I get the honor of welcoming people home and just helping them build their foundation as they come home. How I'm feeling right now, I actually feel really great and just honored to be in this discussion. So thank you so much for inviting me.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining us, Darlene. We truly appreciate you joining us. And Billy, could you take a minute? How are you feeling today? Introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about the work that you're doing at API Rise.
Hi, my name is Billy Tang. I'm feeling all right, you know, a little exhausted, but grateful to be here. And I'm also, a member of API Rise, same as Maria. I volunteer there as a policy and outreach coordinator. And just like Maria was saying, we are API communities supporting each other with formerly and currently incarcerated API folks. So I'm also a member of Black in Solidarity group also, amid what's going on with the pandemic and the xenophobia, Black in Solidarity API was formed. So thank you for having me here.
Hey, thank you, Billy. Thank you for joining us. I see it. I just wanted to point something out. I learned a little bit of Swahili when I was incarcerated, and I see a brother that says, "Love the work you're doing love the work you're doing, Uhuru." So in Swahili, Uhuru Sasa means freedom now, and so people don't know that. Like I saw it, like, oh wow, like so that means freedom now for all people, and that means freedom also from violence. Just so we're clear, and so I want to ask each of you to take a moment. Like over the last year, there's been just thinking about like a shocking rise in the violence against our AAPI community. What do you think the reason behind this is? And we'll start off, Darlene, what do you think the reason behind this rise is in the past year?
To be honest, I think that the rise in violence has been because of our leader. Our previous leader really spoke a lot of hate in general towards people of color. And when the pandemic hit, the language and the narrative that was being placed, the blame that was being placed on the API community was very heavy. You know, I know that this previous person, this previous leader tried to deter from, you know, saying that they were racist remarks, but the way that the world received them was completely, well, it was exactly how he was delivering them. And it was just a whole spew of anti-Asian comments and derogatory, pointing the finger. So I believe that's why the rise in our communities, the violence in our communities has had such an uptake.
Billy, your thoughts? Thank you, Darlene.
Yeah, just picking on what Darlene was saying, and yeah, I just also want to add, you know, our country is not educating our kids in the school system enough about cultural racism. You know, it's been going on for centuries, and it's still going on today. And you know, I remember going to school in elementary. We weren't even educated about the Asian cultures, or so it stems from a lot of ignorance, right? And you know, when Trump or mentioned the virus coming from China, and you know, people automatically identify all Asian race from China, and they don't understand the cultural differences. There's, you know, the subcultures in our Asian communities, and you know, people just see, you know, identify the features, right? So they don't know the cultural differences. They don't know, you know, the history. So yeah, a lot of them stem from ignorance, and you know, our country not educating our kids, you know, in the school system enough about cultural differences and racism. So,
thank you, Billy. Maria, your thoughts on the rise in the past year and where it came from?
Okay,
Go ahead.
Maintain my composure, and while I speak, I just want to make it very clear that my thoughts and my feelings are my personal. It does not reflect on the organizations that I represent, because not only am I part of API Rise and I work for Homeboy Industry, I'm also part of Asian Prisoner Support Committee up north. So these are my personal thoughts and feelings. I just want to make that clear, okay? How I feel about it, I'm very enraged about it. I mean, it was before last year, because I mean, for a long time, Asian Pacific Islanders were considered others, like even out here before incarceration. So that rise, as far as blaming the leader, if he said that message was already embedded in so many human beings of what they already thought, and they just was able to say it because they weren't saying it before. And to be honest, they were saying it, they just weren't broadcasting it socially. You know what I mean? So it was something that it was already being said, and all of a sudden now that 8 Asian women got killed in Atlanta, they want to talk about it now. You know, and it's like, I believe in solidarity in the human race, because there's only one race, and that is the human race. What separates us is our culture. So with that, like, I'm very like enraged with it. Not just even our own Asian Pacific community, we have to always prove superior, who's more smarter, or just anything. It just kicked it off, because no one else talked about when a lot of elderly were getting assaulted last year, blaming anybody who had tight eyes. Didn't even matter if you're an Asian that you guys brought corona here. Nobody ever spoke on that. but yet a lot of elderly people were assaulted and probably were killed behind it, and no one ever spoke on it. So I feel I'm very upset about it, and I hope that like there comes a time like everyone stands together in solidarity, not just for the AAPI community, but just the human race itself. Thank you.
No, love that. Let me just put a pin in that. Like literally, racism for in any content should be unacceptable, and we should call it out. If you see somebody in your community being assaulted, whether it be physically or verbally, tell the person that's doing it to stop. That's not something we want in our communities. That's not something that we want in this country. Like people that are racist are the minority, and we need to be loud about it when we see it. Don't stand idly by. Tell people to stop. You're not right, and if you have to, like, call law enforcement or don't stand idly by if you see someone being harmed just because they look different. It's wrong, and that's across the board. Whether it be our AAPI community, whether it be our Latino community, Black community. Like, if we stop all of it, we have a better community. So I want to echo what Maria said. Like, this has been going on, and it's an underlying current within our country that we need to address. We need to have this conversation. And on the leaders of our country, we need to ask them, like, we need to have this conversation. It has to be had, and it has to be had on every level, and every different group needs to be involved, period, because this is our country. It's all of our country. It angers me too, and I have to be a little bit careful of what I say too. So I know what you mean, Maria. So let me ask Billy, and I'm gonna ask you all these questions. Has anyone or someone that you're close to been a victim of the rise and the hate speech and the violence that is just so prevalent now that we're seeing it in our communities?
We hold our API Rise meeting on a monthly basis every third Monday, and our members, some of our members, has been a victim of hate, racial slurs, or hate crimes, and it's unacceptable. In our culture, it's growing up, we were just taught to just keep our mouth shut and go about our own way. But it's not the case no more. We have to say something or do something, not in a violent way, but in a productive a manner, right? But we have to make a voice heard, right, on this subject. And I think I'm encouraged people who experience that to report the incident, right, so that we know what's going on around this nation and the world.
Absolutely. Darlene, anyone close to you, anyone that you know that has been a victim of the hate speech or the violence?
I think just growing up with my Filipino culture, I've always experienced it. I've always seen my family members get targeted because of who they are. And like Billy said, people, we're taught to be very harmonious people, very demure in responding to racist remarks. But we can't anymore. We can't. I actually had a difficult time coming into this conversation because my daughter, she follows a lot of Korean pop culture, and she really has embedded herself in our Filipino culture. And because we're a mixed race, it was always difficult. But she was impacted by the deaths of these women, these Asian women who were targeted. She felt really close to just what is happening. And my mom, she's afraid to go out. She doesn't go out anymore because she's afraid of what's going to be said to her, what's going to be, how she's going to be targeted. So fortunately, she hasn't experienced like violence towards her, but I mean, just the words alone are violent, right? Like just how, just, you know, having to be afraid, like that's trauma. That's creating trauma in our families, and it's creating trauma in my children, and it's definitely going to continue to impact us.
Thank you, Darlene. Maria, anyone close to you that you know been a victim of this rise in hate speech or violence?
I mean, I know a lot of people. I mean, growing up, what happens, like even my mom just coming here to America, she was always made fun of, and they didn't know exactly what nationality she was because my mom had Castilla blood in her, so she could ask for Hispanic. You know, so just that, and even just what I just had to go last week at the Whole's Food Market. I mean, I was there and I was coming out of the garage and I was taking too long to give them my receipt and put on my mask because I was flustered about the whole the bank account thing. And I was taking too long. This guy, I mean, I was talking to the lady so she could help me. This guy was honking, so I'm like not trying to pay attention because I'm trying to do the right thing and give the lady my look for the receipt. Well, he jumps out of his car behind me and then comes near my car and was all like, "Hurry up, you Chinese bee." And mind you, I'm not Chinese, but it doesn't matter. I shouldn't be any kind of bee. So I got out the car, popped my trunk open. Only that, I mean, mind you, there's security. No one said anything to him. Okay. But they asked me, "Why are you popping open your trunk?" Well, this is a grocery store. I want to show the lady I bought groceries. Since, you know, I'm taking. So that alone, like, I was really mad. Like, the only thing I told him was like, "Do you have a problem, bruh?" That's all I said. Oh, but they came and said something to me because I popped open my trunk to show my groceries. I don't get it. So just little stuff like that and everything, I feel really, really bothered, especially amongst the API men, be what they have to go through to prove their sure that they can protect us, protect their family. And what are we gonna do without them? Yeah, I don't know if that makes sense, let alone us women, as if we're just trust and believe we're not. Well, I know I'm not, you know. So those are the like experience. I go on and on about it, but like this is a very sensitive matter because for so long we're other. That's all we are. Even the judges and the commissioners, they are never gonna. It's like they're not identified for their ethnicity. They're still an other. But here they are, prominent people, but still they're others. Like how much more? So that's my piece on.
Thank you, Maria. Matter of fact, Maria, Billy and Maria, two questions. So first, this one is from the chat. Where can so this looks for, like Chelsea Kinsey wants to know, where can I get more information on API Rise and monthly meetings you guys hold? Deandra and Ali, if you can put that maybe in the chat box for information, the website and everything, where they can find more information on that. And then in terms of API Rise, how has API responded to the senseless violence and hate? Like what has the organization been putting into place, and how can people help?
We hold meetings and we hold healing spaces where people can speak and heal. We also attend rallies, stop the Asian hate rallies. We organize cultural solidarity groups. So yeah, we're doing what we can, but I think most importantly, we hold spaces for people who to express themselves and to heal and just to speak the mind. In addition to supporting our communities and to advocate for solidarity instead of diversity.
Maria, anything you want to add to that? Thank you, Billy.
I have to maintain my composure because as far as like to help, well, be more active. Learn about our cultures, about everyone's culture. First, learn about your own culture so you could be able to appreciate ours. Because I believe if you cannot appreciate your own or don't know your own, you are not going to be able to stand in solidarity with anyone if you cannot stand in solidarity with yourself. So that to me is very, very important. And also, like, know that we're not just others. There's so many of us, not just API Rise, but Asian Prisoner Support Community. There's so many other organizations that are standing tall with this, not just with the hate crimes, but also with immigration. Like, there's so many formerly incarcerated that face immigration, and immigration picks them up. So, I mean, I think it should start there as well, and to be truly educated in that, because I mean, immigration is part of not just the Asian Pacific Islander problem, but it's a problem for everyone, especially for formerly incarcerated. So
Absolutely. I agree 100%. Though the focus is always on our southern border, immigration impacts all races. There are Africans that get immigrated, that are arrested and taken to ICE detention, Latinos, Filipinos, Korean. Like there's a whole plethora of people. And this is the part that I don't understand. You come here as a kid, 5, 6 years old. You go to prison as an adult or even as a teenager. All you know is America, and then we have this whole, we're going to take you, now we're going to deport you. How does that work? That's a whole different conversation I don't want to get into, but one of the things we do want to highlight is for everybody to remember that you do have power in your vote. And I want to say that for a couple of reasons. If you noticed yesterday, Georgia just passed voting restrictions to try to stop more people from voting. And you have over 200 pieces of legislation across the nation where they want to try to stop people from voting. Please be aware of this, because this is how we change our immigration policies, and this is how we change the type of people that are in office. Right? You have power to pick who we want in office, but you have to pick up your ballot. And you have to make sure that your voice is heard. Back in the chat just for a minute, if you look, if you want more information on API Rise, the website is there. Please tap in, support this amazing organization. I want to ask another question, and you kind of touched on this a little bit, but could you give me a little bit more depth? And Maria, I'll go to you first, and then Billy. How important is a community like API Rise right now?
it's very, very important, only because right now, like when I first got out and I went to the first meeting, and mind you, I was incarcerated little years. When I went there and away from my family, because area, it was so warm and cozy, as if even though it was the first time I went there, I felt oneness with it. I was able to be, so that emotional and mental meant everything to a transition to you having your back against the wall and feeling alone. So that alone, like, took all my guards down, made me feel at ease, and made me feel like a human being where I belonged, because anywhere else I feel another. So it's very important if families that are have 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 families that are incarcerated, like who are formerly incarcerated, or their kids are incarcerated, all the families and uncles, everybody there was as one. You want to know something? Everyone who was at that meeting were not formally incarcerated. They were actually people looking at us as people. So it's very, very important, especially now. And I really hope a lot of Asian Pacific Islander community really participates, supports this organization, because it helps a lot, especially during now in COVID. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria. Billy, how important is the community, especially right now, the API community, the API Rise community? How important is it right now?
It's very crucial. I mean, we're an organization that that supports, inclusiveness, and what's going on right now is it's a space where people come and just speak their mind, speak their heart, have the support, the community support, and just amid of what's going on, this is always a space where there's camaraderie, there's communities, right? Um, yeah, just like what Maria was saying, you know, API Rise, yeah, we just welcome all those who wants to share space with us, right? And welcome brothers and sisters that are formerly incarcerated, and support brothers and sisters who are currently incarcerated. Also, let them know that there's a place for them. And yeah, I think that's it's crucial for people such as myself and Maria to know that there's community out there that that allow APIs to voice their feelings, right, their concerns, and to support them any way we can.
So I want to share something. Thank you, Billy and Maria. I want to share something. Van just joined us. So before I share, I want to first give Van a member. Would like to welcome our ARC member, Van. Van, could you please introduce yourself? How are you feeling right now? And tell us a little bit about your work at Homeboy Industries as an associate for government relations. Big time.
Sorry I'm late, everybody. But no, thank you, Sam. First off, I want to thank you and ARC and everybody who helped make this space possible, right? And everybody here, of course, joining us, listening in. So good afternoon, everybody. I'm Van Huynh. I'm honored to be here, and of course, it's great to see all of you, but I'm deeply disheartened, to say the least, by the circumstances that brought us here. I'm a proud member of ARC and a proud member of API Rise, and a very proud member of Homeboy Industries, where like you mentioned, I'm the associate of government relations and local organizing committee. So I work on both ends of the social services, legislative advocacy, as well as point of contact, community engagement, providing information, support, and necessary equipment to keep vulnerable community members safe during this time. But really, it's really not about just this time, right? It's before this time and ongoing into the future that it's very important that our work never ends, never stops.
Thank you, Van. If you can see in the chat box, you got a fan club jumping off over in the chat box. Wait a minute. Did I lose you? Oh, no, I didn't lose you. In the chat box, you have a fan club over there. Sally Joe, you have Dominique. So welcome again, Van. I wanted to share something with our audience. A few days ago, one of our members, ICE, actually came to our housing site and took one of our members in the custody. And so he has representation. We made sure immediately he had representation and all of it, everything that we could possibly do, and we continue to support him in this process. His brother was deported prior to this, but this is something that we are focusing on, and we make sure that when things like this happen, we can't stop it, so to speak, or go against when law enforcement shows up. But we make sure that there's representation for our members, and so that member is being represented, and we're hoping for the best outcome. Policy-wise, we're looking at different things that we can do, but just wanted to point that out in terms of when we look at ICE and deportation, it's not something that we're ignoring or that we don't take very seriously, because to me, and this is me personally speaking from Sam, I feel like the deportation process is a form of violence. That's just how I feel. If all a person knows is America as home, how do you strip that away from a person? How do you do that to a human being? It'd be different if a person said, look, I don't want to stay here. Could you ship me wherever I want to go? That's different. And so I feel like that process, ICE and all that, is like, it's a form of violence to me. But let me get off my little soapbox there before I get in trouble. I want to ask you, Darlene, as someone who works in reentry, have you seen differences in how community members are treated during the pandemic?
Definitely. There's been a huge decrease in access to services because of the pandemic. Folks coming home. You know, I've had plenty of conversations with folks that have just recently came home in the last 30 days. And a lot of what I'm hearing is stepping into this new world, right? Because they've been away for a couple of decades, stepping into this new world and not being able to automatically go see their family because they're in a transitional home. And, you know, the procedure there is to make sure folks are quarantined, has taken a toll on them emotionally and mentally, because that's the first thing that they want to do, right? Is connect. We want to connect. We're human beings. Like, that's our nature, is to connect, and to hold somebody back from that when they come home has really taken a toll. And then just not being able to access services that they typically could have, not being able to get a job during the pandemic has made such an impact on how they've started this new life, that they're worried. They're worried about how they're going to move forward, how they're going to regain and whether it's family connection or how to step into the employment world. I've had one gentleman share with me that he was without hygiene for 2 weeks because he was in quarantine. So this pandemic has impacted our reentry community so much that we're not hearing it unless we're on the front lines. And just to piggyback on some of the things that were already said, with ICE deportation, folks are being stripped away automatically when they come home. And when they go into these ICE detention centers, I know, Maria, you experienced it, right? It's not anything pretty. And so they're at this level, right, of having to deal with now fighting deportation, and then the pandemic on top of it, being completely stripped. And I really, I also want to say something about, like, just the fact that we're categorized as other people. We're not other people. We're people, and we shouldn't be categorized as that. We should just be identified as who we are, as Maria, Kanaka, as Van, as Billy, as Sam, as Darlene. So I also just wanted to throw that in.
Thank you, Darlene. Van, I asked everyone else this. This was before you joined, so I want to give you an opportunity to touch on this. Could you respond? Have you or anyone that you know been directly affected in the rise of hate towards the AAPI community, and in what way?
Yeah, me. I mean, we're talking about the AAPI community, and I'm part of that community. So I feel like anything that happens to one of the community members, like it's happening to myself, and I have to be consistent with that, because I'm learning how to be part of a community, and so that's the way I have to think. That we have to always think that if whatever happens to one person, it happens to all of us. But to answer your question, yeah, actually, I have to say that this is really nothing new to me, right? This anti-Asian hate, that it's what drove me out of school and into prison. Um, but you know, let's talk about within the last year. My cousin was killed last summer, and it was racially motivated. My cousin, she's running for mayor of San Bernardino, and yet her mom, somebody just sent her mom a letter a few days ago, and I don't want to repeat what was said, but it was a nasty, nasty letter intended to intimidate and really put fear into the Asian and Pacific Islander community. But they did it anonymously, right? So it says a lot. And every time I read about, when I've been researching, all of the things that are going on, the other night, I actually had to stop because it was just too much for me. It triggers me in all the ways that prison played a part. We talk about deportation as maybe a violence. It is violence. When I was in ICE, that feeling that I had going to ICE, first of all, it took away from my release. That I wasn't happy leaving prison. The truth was that I was counting down the days, dreading that it came close to the day that I would have to be taken out of prison, right? So think about that. That here I am getting released from prison from a life sentence, and yet I dreaded that day that I would be released, because I knew that I wouldn't be released to go home. I would go to another prison in ICE, and it is a direct attack on everything that we do here at ARC, that we do in any reentry services, because what it did to me was that somebody who was I feel at the time I was fully rehabilitated, and yet it triggered me enough to bring back all of the feelings of going back into survival mode. That if I were to be removed from this country, going back to another foreign country, that it's like entering prison for the first time. And I'm still dealing with that now, but yeah, I can't find anything good out of this other than we're talking about it. That nothing is new to me, but the only difference is that now, as a community, we're talking about it. So I have to appreciate that. But I do have to add that it's a cultural thing, right? That hate usually targets the vulnerable, the ones who can't defend themselves. So we're defending people who are in prison because they're helpless and they can't defend themselves. And now we're seeing the elderly and also women who are being attacked, fueled by hate. And for the Asians, largely, we don't report the crime. So the statistics, it doesn't even reflect the reality. It's much larger in scale, and we don't speak about it, for one, because we feel that our voices don't matter, or that nobody cares. And I'm talking about just some of the personal stuff that's happening to people I know and within my family growing up. My aunt was stabbed twice, two separate incidents, racially motivated, and I never really told anybody. There was another hit and run. Somebody just veered into my uncle, killed him, and left. And this is the first time that I'm really speaking about these things. And for me, it's very similarly that I don't speak about it because I just feel that it wouldn't make a difference, and two, that nobody really cares. So I really appreciate this platform, and that we're talking about it. Talk. I've been taught that talk is cheap, but it's powerful if it's connected to action. I really appreciate you, Sam, and I'm really honored to be here with this panel right here.
Hey, Van, first, let me just extend my condolences for your loss and the violence that your family has gone through. Like the whole community, and anyone on the panel, correct me if I'm wrong on this. When we see it, when we're in the community, if you're out grocery shopping, if you're out walking your dog, taking a jog, whatever you're doing, and you see someone being attacked, you see an elderly person or a woman or anyone being attacked with hate, speak up. Don't remain silent. because when it happens to one of our community members, it's happening to all of us. So please correct me if I'm wrong on this, but speak up. Speak up. Say, hey, stop it. Other people will speak up and will join, which you'd be like, hell yeah, hey, stop it. But we can't remain silent about this. If we do, like, that contributes to it. Silence is violence also. Like, literally, if we watch and stand by, we might as well be perpetrating a crime ourselves. And so I ask, as a call to action, when you see stuff like that, speak up. This is how we make our communities safer. This is how we make our communities better. This is how we allow our elderly parents and grandparents to be able to walk to the park and live their life in their winter years. But we have to do this across the board, and it can't just be one ethnic group. It has to be all of us as a collective. Again, brother, we stand in solidarity with the entire AAPI and community, all of our people. Like Maria, I have to, sometimes I'm because I'm getting emotional and getting angry, and I'm like, okay, you can't say that. You can't say that. If you say that, you know, because I don't want people to take the wrong message. My message to you is this: we stand in the gap of all these things when we're speaking for people who are voiceless and people who are defenseless. It's our job to speak up for them as community members and as family members. We have to do this as a collective. And in fact, on that point, I'd like to ask each of you, for people that are listening, how can the entire community best support the AAPI community? Maria, Darlene, Billy, and then back to you, Van. So Maria?
First off, like, to be more educated on the ICE procedures, because, like, I know we have to, I'm not saying that you harbor any fugitives, but there are certain guidelines to where, like, just say you had somebody at in your house who has ICE, you don't have to let them in, and you do not have to tell them that they're there, because there are certain guidelines to them. And I just want a lot more people, organizations, to be more very, very educated on that, because, like you said, ICE is violence, and that stands prominent in our country here. Like, I just want to say I appreciate you acknowledging a brother, Aladdin, getting picked up, guys, you know, helping out, you know, with representation or what you had said. However, you know, like, just to educate everyone, you know, and to be more kinder to people, to not just Asian Pacific Islander community, but to be just kind, you know, to stand up for something. Like, if you see something wrong, like, I'm not saying go out and go fight them, but, like, speak up. Because when I spoke up at that Whole Foods market, I didn't say nothing violent. I did say with a tone when I said, "You got a problem, bruh?" You know, a little bit more with voice in it, but those are the only words I said. He stepped back because, you know, obviously I speak English, you know, so to look at us as people, and that's how I think to support us is, don't look at us as another or clump us as one culture. Appreciate each and every one of our cultures as we appreciate everyone's culture. Because I know for me, I appreciate everyone's culture. I love knowing about other people's or traditions, and because that's them. So I think that's the way to support, especially our women. A lot of the women and the elderly and the children get it worse. Even our men. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Maria. Darlene, how can the entire community best support our AAPI community?
I mean, I think that the theme here is to speak up, right? Making sure that we do defend each other, our elders, but also we need to speak to our friends that are, and our family members that have an embedded or rooted racism within themselves. So educating each other. You know, I kind of I was questioning whether I should join this fireside chat because I've been tired of having a lot of these conversations. I've had to have the conversations with my kids about like the racism and the attacks on our people. And it's so tiring, but I challenged myself to come on here because I wanted to make sure that I'm not just having these outwardly and also just to continue in standing in solidarity with us. We have so much more in common than we do different, right? So just continuing to stay in solidarity with us, checking in, saying like, hey, and I've had a lot of folks check in with me, which I felt really honored that they did, because looking at me, they forget that I'm also Filipina. So I really appreciated that folks were checking in with me when there was an uptake on the rise on our folks, the violence. And just continue to educate each other, continue to be there, just to continue to stand in solidarity. Filipinos, they have this saying, it's isang bagsak, and that means one fall, we all fall. So just continue to be there for each other. That's how I think we should help.
Thank you, Darlene. Billy, how can a greater community help and support? Go ahead, brother.
Yeah, 100% with agreeing with Maria and Darlene. Educating. Be there for one another. Stop ICE. But I also want to reach to the greater other communities, such as formerly gang members or formerly incarcerated. That sometimes I once upon a time come from the street, right? And sometimes their words carry a lot of meaning. Whether they're send a message about standing in solidarity with Asian communities and stopping the violence. All those message that you send to kids, to youth, it helps, because they're our future. And if we don't do anything today to change their mind, right, the cycle keeps on going. So, we have to reach out to the young folks, right, and educate them about culture, educate them about language, educate them about, the importance of standing in solidarity. Those of us who've been in prison, we know that when we all come together, right, to protest something that's unjust in the prison system, and it works, right? We might be on lockdown for 2 weeks, a month, but what? They're going to change their ways, right? So same thing here. We all need to come together as a community to combat this hate, right? And so I encourage people to just talk to people they know, educate people, and the importance of being in community with one another, right? Like Maria said, we're all one human race, and that's how it should be, right? And stop the ICE. That's very important. I've been to assist. I'm very grateful. ARC has supported me, and I'm here today because of the support of the community, right? So we have to do the same for the next person, until this thing ends, right? Like until no one gets deported. Deportation is violent and is evil. It's evil to separate families. Evil to have a kid go out without their mother, parents, father, brothers, whatever. But it's very important. So stand solidarity with immigration reform, and stop the hate. And
thank you, Billy. Thank you, brother. Van, how can our larger community support our API community? I mean, this is like, and I ask because I also see this as an opportunity, as somewhat of a call to action for people that are listening. One of the things I want to definitely say is support and donate to API Rise. So again, it's in our chat box. So donate and support this great organization and the work that they're doing. Van, what else can we do?
I mean, the theme is very similar, right? To educate, because, like I said, hate comes from ignorance. So how do we combat that? We don't add more hate. We combat it with education. But it's, if we speak about just education and supporting, it's pretty vague. But to be specific, I tend to look at it the same way we look at formerly incarcerated persons. That we're similar, but we're unique. So it's very different in every case why somebody hate or why somebody resort to violence. But I don't think we have enough time to address every individual situation. I do want to say that, to emphasize and go on with the same theme with support and education and spreading awareness, is that it has to be mutual. So I urge everybody here, which really I'm talking to myself a lot, which is, if I want others to understand me, I have to try to understand others, right? So try not to be too quick to demonize, as Father G said. Don't trade in one for the other to force others into our space. Let's try to meet people halfway and heal each other. If we're talking about a bigger community, it's not two tiers. It's not us here and then here's the larger community. There's so many different layers, and we all can play our different part in whatever capacity that we have or are able to. I have friends who are not with anything that I'm doing at all, but they're willing to, give me money to help support the causes that I support. And so others may say, well, you know what? I'm not willing to do any of these at all, but I'm willing to not victimize others. Hey, I'll take that. Whatever it is that you can offer, if you can speak up in public against, not just against anti-Asian acts of hate, but I want to emphasize that I want this to really wrap up everything, right? That acts of hate and threats against all of our minority groups, all of our different diverse groups in our community, that we have to take this opportunity to close it all up. Like, we shouldn't have separate conversations every time. I do appreciate the focus on our AAPI community, but I want to honor it by turning it back to say that I want this. We all want this to end, and the only way to end this is holistically, right? That we don't want to separate in trying to unite. So my answer is, yeah, just go out there and in whatever capacity that you can, whether it be money, time, empathy, sympathy, words of kindness, anything that you can offer, is welcome and is needed. So I know this is a hard one, but for me, every time I hear of a perpetrator violating somebody, I try to understand why they're doing it, because that is consistent with our work in these organizations. But yeah, that's really all I have to offer right now at this point. I haven't really thought it through. I'm just going on the fly. But that's us. That's human, right? And just learn to appreciate each other. This is coming from a person that went to prison. We played racial politics, gang politics, all of these things, and yet here I am talking about love because I believe in it wholeheartedly. Thank you, Sam.
Hey, thank you, Van, brother. Thank you. And with that, I want to give each of you a moment. I want to thank you, first of all, for being vulnerable, speaking the truth, and like really addressing our members in the community, how they can step up and sharing with us your experiences. Know that we stand in solidarity with you always. And I want to ask each of you to take a minute for closing thoughts. And so I go to you first, Billy. Closing thoughts, please.
Yeah, thank you, Sam, first of all, for holding the space for us. It's very crucial conversations. And also, I want to speak, to the APIs community too. Like, don't respond to hate with hate. Respond to hate with, building solidarity, or with healing. With compassion, love. Don't feed into the, violence. Doesn't It doesn't do anything. It doesn't do good for anybody. So just have that. Just be compassionate, be loving towards each other, and two wrong doesn't make a right. So.
Thank you, Billy. Appreciate you, brother. Maria, closing thoughts. Take a minute, please.
I just first of all, platform. Thank you for being here, and just my only thoughts as now is the whole community, especially about the Asian Islander community, to speak up. We have voices. Don't just overlook because or you don't know. It's okay to speak. That's what we came to America. Is to live, be liberal, and not hide behind cultural stigma that our own people put upon us. So I just want them to be able to speak their truth and stand tall, not violent. And also I forgot to mention this, but when you said support, I hope that people support the Vision Act. We're trying to pass it. I mean, not us, but trying to pass that so ICE doesn't pick people up from incarceration. So that's very important to support the API community and all the community. I just want to put that out there.
Thank you, sister. We appreciate you. Thank you. Darlene, last thoughts. Take a minute for our audience, please.
Thank you again for providing this space. I don't know how many times I can say it. These are really crucial conversations that we should be having regularly. Unfortunately, we've had to experience this violence, and these are the reasons why these conversations are coming up, but they're still important. I also want to bring light to not only our people being deported by ICE, but our native Hawaiian relatives are being transferred to other states. And we need to shed light on that, because if they're moving folks from Hawaiian prisons to Oklahoma and Arizona, there's no family contact. That's really difficult for our relatives. And so I challenge you guys all to learn about what's happening in Hawaii and how they're treating our relatives over there as well. Again, thank you, Sam, ARC, and everybody else who has tapped into this conversation for just giving us this space to talk about it.
Thank you, sister. Appreciate you. Van, want to wrap us up with your last thoughts for the audience, and again, thank you all for joining.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Sam. I want to shout out Domo and Sally real quick. I don't think they can read my comments in the chat, but thank you so much for the space and the leadership. Really, conversation is very important. I wish it were that simple, right? That my thoughts or my closing thoughts can really close all of these issues and problems. I do have a lingering one. It's partially a question though, like why all this hate? Well, I think like I mentioned, this hate comes from a combination of hurt and also ignorance. So we as individuals and collectively as a community, we must heal and educate. So I know that our great organizations have been doing that work before this, and I know we will after this. But let's emphasize and help amplify the fact that our world, it doesn't have to be like a casino, right? That our gains don't have to come from others' losses, where the house always wins and we lose all of the players. This world is our community, and our community is or should be like a garden that grows if we all pitch in and do the work. So that's what I want to close this off with is pitch in and do the work and try to reach out and understand others, support others' causes, because it's about mutuality, and if we are a community, let's do this all together and be involved with everything. But thank you so much, Darlene, for bringing that issue up. That's absolute terrorism, tearing families apart.
Thank you, Brother Van. Appreciate you. Thank you all once again for sharing. Thank you for your vulnerability, and thank you for speaking the truth so that our listeners can hear. I want to reiterate this again, that ARC stands with our API community and will continue to defend and support our community members always. Next week, join us. We'll be talking more about District Attorney Gascon's policies. One specifically is district attorneys to the Board of Parole hearings. Until then, everyone take care, stay safe. And remember, if you see violence, speak up, because silence is violence. Take care. God bless.
you